Hello, welcome to JavaScript Marathon Training. We are so thrilled to be back this month after our inaugural marathon training sessions back in April. In our Angular track today, we will learn how to use the Angular CLI with tools such as IgniteUI and how you can create your own customizations to bring hyper productivity to your teams. Our trainers today join us from the product teams at Infragistics. Jason Beres is a Senior VP of Developer Tools, and Brian Lagunas is a Senior Product Manager. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Feel free to reach out on Twitter using the handle shown at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions or feedback, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And of course, we couldn't do this without our sponsors. Our first sponsor today is This.Labs, your partners in modern digital transformation. We specialize in mentorship, consulting, training, and staff augmentation for enterprise organizations. You can find out more at this.labs.com or send us an email at hi@this.co. Do you find keeping up with the constantly evolving technologies a struggle? Do you want to bring your team up to speed on one of the latest technologies? This.Labs offers personalized training programs to suit your organizational needs, ensuring you and your company stay on the leading edge. Again, contact us today at hi@this.co to set up your complimentary needs assessment. Our next sponsor today is Infragistics. Learn how to build better, faster Angular apps with IgniteUI. There are hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Angular native components, and charts and controls to make your development experience positive. IgniteUI is the developer's choice for Angular. Check out their sample apps and try IgniteUI for Angular for free at the link shown on your screen. Infragistics is also offering an amazing giveaway today. Tell us your favorite takeaway from today's session by tweeting us at this.media and Infragistics using hashtag JavaScript Marathon for a chance to win a one-year license to IgniteUI for Angular. And then finally, if you're familiar with this.media, we have regular online meetup events each month. Join us every first Thursday of the month for the Global Angular Meetup. This.'s online meetups are an amazing opportunity for developers and enthusiasts alike to engage with the global tech community no matter where they are in the world. You can get information each month on what we're covering and register to join at angularmeetup.com. Okay. So that said, first up, we have Jason.
All right.
Jason, we're going to let you take it from here.
Cool. Thank you. So let me minimize that. Brian, you can see our Infragistics web homepage. Oh, I guess you're on mute. Oh, I guess I'm the only one talking. Sorry. I'm just going to assume everyone can see what I'm looking at. All right, good. So let's kick this off. So thanks, everyone. Again, thank you for this dot for inviting us to be part of this today. This is pretty cool. We're going to learn a bunch of stuff on how to build Angular apps in minutes using some of this technology from Infragistics, which is pretty cool. Now, I got a bunch of slides. I'm going to blow through the slides pretty quick. In the chat window, there's going to be a bunch of different links. You can grab the PDF of these slides from those links so you can read them at your leisure later on today. So again, get access to the best toolkit for IgniteUI for Angular. Tweet and you shall receive. Take a screenshot of the session, tweet it out with your comment. Include Infragistics, this dot, and JavaScript Marathon as the hashtag. And one lucky winner will be drawn at random to receive a one-year subscription of IgniteUI for Angular. And Brian always has these crazy ideas like, what if we do 10 people? What if we do 20? You never know with Brian. So you might still win. Even though we're saying one, we might do more. And so tweet and tell your friends to tweet and get some free software. So this is us. You can see us on the screen as well. My name's Jason. Brian's with us. I've been with the company for 17, 18 years now. This will be my 18th year, I think, going into 2021. Brian's been with the company for 10 years. He's a product owner, but he does a lot of stuff online. He does weekly Twitch streams. So if you want to code with Brian every week, he's doing stuff on Twitch. He does a lot of videos. He's the owner of the Prism library for WPF. And now he's kind of moved over and started embracing modern web with Angular, React, web components, Blazor. So today he's going to show us a little bit of his Angular stuff that he's learned. And then, of course, Infragistics is the company. IgniteUI is the product. Our goal is to deliver productivity tools to help your lives get easier. I'm going to go through these really quick. We've been around for 30 years, which means we've built a lot of software. We've released a lot of software. This Angular product has been in the market now for going on 3 years. We have offices all over the world. So depending on where you're at globally, we have folks there that can help out. And the great thing is we have native speakers. So like if you're joining us from Japan, we have a team in Japan, a support team. They're Angular gurus. And of course, they speak Japanese. And then you can see we've got places all over. Bulgaria is where we build a lot of this product, and in the US. Montevideo, I'm going to show you our Indigo product today, and you're going to see some of that work that they do down in Uruguay. And then I'm in Cranberry, New Jersey. Brian is in Boise, Idaho. He's not listed here because he is a one-man band over in Boise. Some of our customers and really our value to you is about helping you build POCs faster. Of course, we're building these components so they're tested. We have, it's funny, for our data grid, our Angular grid, we have 30,000 automated tests that run every time we're doing builds, and we're on a continuous delivery CI build process. Our charts have over 35,000 continuous integration tests. So when you think about quality and testing, you're going to go build something yourself. Don't even think about it, because you just can't do the level of testing that we can do to help you deliver high quality apps to your customers. So how do we build apps fast with Infragistics? This is another reminder. Tweet Infragistics, JavaScript Marathon, win some free software. So I'm going to talk about 2 products today, and you're going to see a demo of how they really help you build apps in minutes. First one's Indigo Design. Indigo Design is a tool that we put out to the market about 3 years ago. It's an evolution of a product called Indigo Studio, which we had in the market for about 10 years. And it's about UX process enablement. The beauty of this product is that we start with the design system. The design system is based on our Angular product. So what that means is if you're using a tool like Sketch, your design team, and you're creating screens in Sketch, you're using the Indigo design system, you can generate Angular apps with our components, and you're going to see how that happens today. So when you think about like all these challenges you have, like, oh my gosh, the design team gave me like this PDF with all these like stuff in there, and I've got to somehow duplicate that in my application. Well, those days are over. You need continuous fluid design, develop, test, design, develop, test, and then you deliver to the market what the best outcome is. So this product really helps with that. So what we've done is we've kind of pushed out this new onboarding experience, and I'm going to demo all of this, so I won't spend too much time on the slides, but it gives you the ability to upload your prototypes from Sketch, edit the prototypes, share them with others, collaborate, etc. We also, if you don't want to generate code, but you just want to get like CSS, we have this inspector tool, which allows you to inspect little bits of a screen and know what the padding, margins, height, width, CSS, colors, download the logo, copy all this, put it in your app, all that. So we do all that as well. So it makes it super easy to get some of this, design or web code from our tool into your product. We also have this concept of user testing. We have a whole nother thing coming out I think July 24th. We have a webinar on that. Stephen will post the link in the chat window. If you're interested in user testing, that's also part of this product. But really, the outcome ends up being this modern web Angular app. And that's the what you're all here to learn about today is how can I build Angular apps faster? Well, Indigo Design helps you output into our web product called Ignite UI, which is really where you get all of these high performance Angular components. So you think about what it takes to build an application. You've got menus, you've got toolbars, you've got data grids, data charts, tree maps, spreadsheets, you need Excel capability, you need pop-ups, you need dialogues, you need buttons. While Ignite UI for Angular has at least 65 or 70 UI components, over 60 chart types, and they all help you build out these app experiences in super easy ways. So we've got full progressive web app capability, responsive web design, virtualized grids, charting, etc. You're going to see all this in the demo. Brian's going to show you some of these tools like our plugins and our code generator. I'm going to show you our CLI and how that works. But we've done studies and worked with customers, and we look at up to 800% ROI in cost savings using tools like Ignite UI. And to give you an idea of some of the cool stuff, like this is one of those animated GIFs that I put up here. We've got some sweet controls. So we just added this cool doc manager component in our last release. We have full Bootstrap support for theming. So not only can you do Material, because we are a Material UI-based product, you can apply Bootstrap themes as well. A lot of different grid features and just constantly responding to the market need for what you really need to give your customers great experiences in web applications. And it doesn't stop there. I'm going to show you samples like this where you can download the code, pick it apart, put in your own data, and learn from it. So we have this concept of a showcase app or a reference application, and we give you all the source. And our goal is that you take it and you just stick your own data in and you use it, or you use our theme, or you use the way we did some design in the grid, all with trying to help you be more productive with your app development. So let's go right into a demo. The reason I brought up the homepage here is because this is Infragistics.com. What you want to do is the launch point is go to Ignite UI for Angular. Now, if you're one of these guys that's like, hey, you know what? Angular's cool, but I'm really a jQuery guy. Well, check out our jQuery product. Or you're a React guy, check out our React product. Oh, you want to do Blazor? You want to do .NET Core? Awesome. You want to do WebAssembly? Look at Blazor. So we have products that cover all of this stuff. But the launch point here on the homepage to go to the Angular product is here, or the Indigo Design product here. So the first thing I'm going to show you is Ignite UI for Angular, and I'm going to finish with Indigo Design and then hand it off to Brian to kind of finish that demo. But what I want to kind of show you here is just some of the controls we have. So like this is the data grid control, and to show you like some of these cool features, like being able to do row selection or multi-row selection. You've got column templates. You'll notice I have columns pinned to the left-hand side. I can do full grid searches. So for example, if I just want to start typing in IV, because I saw this person's name was Ivy, it says there's 127 results. So now it's like finding all of these results within the grid, just like, you know, you would in like a mail or a Word doc, for example. We've got this cool toolbar where it allows you to do column hiding or column showing, so I can easily show and hide columns. I can pin columns. You can pin columns to the right-hand side of the grid or the left-hand side of the grid. You can pin rows to the top of the grid or the bottom of the grid. So any type of manipulation you want to do with the grid is pretty cool. And then, of course, being able to export to Excel is pretty sweet too. So let's take a look here. And I just exported all that data to Excel with one click. And I'm going to show you a cool sample of that as well. But this is where you would kind of learn about the product and what we offer. But if you just jump into the samples, the way that this product works is that we have like hundreds of samples of different scenarios of using all of the components. So on the left-hand side, you can see we've got all this good stuff here. And when you click on, any of these guys, like for example, hey, you want to look at a tree grid, and we've got a live data real-time performance here with the tree grid demo. You've got this button to view on StackBlitz, so you can actually go and open up any of these samples on StackBlitz to see what they look like, see how they work, etc. And so here I'll just pick a random guy here, column. Let me find row. I want to find the well, you'll notice here I'm like, oh wait, where's the row pinning sample? I can't find it. Well, let me just type in the search box, and I can see here, oh, row pinning is right here. And the reason I wanted to show this example was because this also is a cool feature we added called this action strip, which you can customize. But here, if I want to pin this row, I just click the pin button, and you'll see that the row is pinned to the top. Let's say I want to delete this guy. I want to edit this row. Now I'm in edit mode for the row. All of these are simple property settings. So if I actually go look at this on StackBlitz, and I go into the grid, and I go to grid row pinning, this is all it takes to do all that stuff I just showed you. So you'll see here, I've got a directive to prevent document scroll. That's mostly for our samples, but I want to allow pinning. I want to set the height. I want to auto-generate or not auto-generate columns. I want to set the primary key. I want to say it's editable. I want to have actions on click. But this is what it takes to build out a sample like this. And now look, I can actually look at this in real time, and I can modify this here. So I'll just change this over here and say Jason. And what happens next is it just automatically updates here right in the sample. So we enable all of this learning right within the samples themselves. So, and besides all the help and all this other cool stuff, if you want to read. But one of the other things that we do up here is we give you a lot of detail on how to use the product. So we've got a getting started page. We always talk about breaking changes for every release. We've got an update guide. So I'm going to show you our CLI demo, and we're using Angular Schematics to do that, which also means Angular commands like ng update work on our product as well. So let's say you're using Angular 8 and you're using Ignite UI version 8.2. Now Angular 9 ships. Now you're going to upgrade to Angular 9, and then you're going to upgrade to Ignite UI for Angular 9.01. Well, that's kind of a pain to do if you have to do everything manually. Using ng update, it does it all for you. So we're one of the only products, third-party products out there that actually use schematics for everything, and we integrate right in with the Angular CLI. So I'll show you the Infragistics CLI as well as working with the Angular CLI. And if you really want to go deep into it, I've got a whole document on it. So it's actually as easy as doing ng new Angular project and then just use Infragistics. And then from there, I can do whatever I want. I can add a grid component. I can add a menu, a toolbar, a chart. I can add whatever I want with the ng command. Or I can use the Infragistics CLI command IG. So I'm going to show you how this works. But this is really good documentation. And if you really go hardcore, one of the things that you can also do is create custom templates. So let's say your organization wants to promote a certain user experience, a certain design system, branding, whatever. Create your own templates and then share them, and then the CLI can pick those up, and then when you generate a new screen, they'll automatically have your corporate branding. So this is some of the cool stuff that we include that's very unique to the market. If you're a WPF dev, Brian wrote a ton of content on going from WPF to Angular. You've got videos, and you've got code and content and how-tos, so tons of stuff. And then some of the other things, like if you think about it, grids are cool, charts are cool, but how about having a spreadsheet control that looks just like Microsoft Excel? How about having things like tree map controls where I can do really robust drill downs? How about things like the Excel library I mentioned earlier, where I can have a grid and a chart, and I can also export this right to Excel and include the chart with it. So you can see here, not only have I exported my grid, but I've exported a chart, which is actually a real native Excel chart. All this is built in. It's one line of code to do this. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you the one line of code to export your grid and chart to Excel, to an Excel file that has a grid and chart. And just a lot of fun stuff like this. And if you've ever used components, you know that using a third-party component will dramatically accelerate kind of what you want to do and deliver to your customer. So we have all kinds of neat stuff. But how would you actually get started with some of this stuff? How would you kick off your app dev? Well, one of the easiest things to do is to install the IgniteUI CLI. And I went over here to npm. It's just npmjs.com. And then what I did is I said, let me search for IgniteUI CLI. Okay, so I'm going to click this guy, and I end up here at the CLI page. Now, the CLI gives me a bunch of commands that help me build apps very quickly. Now, this help is also, this is all using Angular schematics, by the way. So that's kind of where I was leading in with the schematics story. This will use schematics, your own schematics, the schematics we built in, integrating with the Angular CLI, the NG, to help you build apps really quickly, template-based. So there's a lot of stuff here. This content maps over to this content here. This is much more in-depth, step-by-step guides, templates, projects, etc. So I would recommend just kind of read through this, or you're going to see like how easy this is within 2 seconds. So the first thing you want to do is install the IgniteUI CLI. So you, in npm, you just click the little guy here, and then you'd go here and you could paste it, but I'll type it for you so you can see. You type in npm install IgniteUI CLI. Now, if you want that to be global to your whole workspace and all your projects and folders, do -G. If not, it'll just be for that particular folder. But I've already installed this, so I'm not going to install it again. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kick off a new project. So I'm going to just type in IG. So that's our prefix. So when I type in IG, you can see here, this is the step-by-step mode. Enter a name for your project. So I'm going to call it this dot marathon. How's that sound? Cool. Now, it says my framework is Angular, project type IgniteUI for Angular. Now in yellow, it says, hey, did you know you can also use our schematics package with the Angular CLI? Now, the reason we call this out is because this is a new feature for us. So that is what I was talking about here. If I go back to the documentation, up until our latest release, or maybe about 3 months ago, you would always have to use the Infragistics CLI. But now, once you install the schematics collection to the Angular CLI, you can just do things like ng new and then include IgniteUI for Angular in your project. And even if you don't do that, let's say you do ng new and you create a new project, just do ng add IgniteUI Angular and you kind of have the same result. So it's actually pretty slick. But for this demo, I just want to show you this because this is the fastest way to get started. I'm going to do a default side nav. I'm going to use the default theme. Now it's created a project structure for me. So now you can see I'm in my dev2 folder. It's created this project template. So I've got here all the stuff I need essentially for a base application. But you'll notice there's no real components. I've got my routing. I've got my home. Nothing going on much here in the source except the basic stuff. So what I want to do is I want to go back to here. I'm going to add a couple things. We have a few pre-built scenarios. One of them is a fintech grid. I'm going to do the fintech grid because it actually shows off a lot of the grid features. So I want to add that. And the reason we have these scenarios is because this is where we want you to add your own scenarios. So using schematics, create templates, use our CLI to always get the same result with what you're doing. Here we can do weather forecast. And I'm just kind of making up my names here. I want to add a component. How about we add a chart? Let's add a chart, and category chart's cool. Let's add category. And of course, when you do this, it might be like, you know, sales results chart or something. I'm just kind of making up these names. And that's all I'm going to do. I just want to give you the idea. I'm going to hit complete and run. And what happens, oh, this is the next thing is if you are a paying customer, you can say, yes, use my licensed product, or just skip for now, and you can just use the trial version. Choose the port. We'll do 4200. And now what it does is it's going to go and do what you would normally do building an Angular app. It does npm install. So it goes and it grabs everything that I need. And so this application in my node modules will just start to get more and more and more and more and more stuff. And then when we go over to our source and app, we'll see here I've got my fintech grid, category chart, weather forecast, etc. If I look here, you can see it created the HTML, CSS, etc. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here and open this in Visual Studio Code. And we'll take a look right in real time as this is, it's building on the left, but this is what it did to create the chart. So now I've got, it looks like a select, and it is using a chart type parameter, and the chart type is going to get passed to my category chart here. And in fact, just because of screen size differences, let me make that a little bit bigger, a little bit more readable. And that's all it's doing here for the chart. If I take a look at the fintech grid, here's my fintech grid component, and you can see we've got some stuff up here. It looks like some various controls, button group controls, Infragistics button group controls, some events on select. And then here is the grid that it's actually going to generate in this sample. So it sets a couple properties like allow filtering, pinning, export to Excel. So for you to write all this code yourself would take hours or days, and then to debug it, it would take hours or days. Look what just happened. Now, I don't know why this is saying Portuguese. That's pretty interesting, but I'm going to say no. Something here doesn't like, thinks it's Portuguese. But anyway, take a look at this. This just created this sample for me. Now, avoid the trial thing, but that's when you don't have a licensed version. But look at all these features. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to do a group by here. I can select a bunch of different rows. I can click chart, and it'll give me a chart. I mean, there's so much that I can do with this sample. It's actually pretty cool. I can actually click live all prices, and now the prices are updating in real time. The reason we did this demo was because we wanted to show how the grid performs with a ton of records. And so what you can see, and it's always going to be a little choppy on the screen share, but look at this as like scrolling, just like it would be in Microsoft Excel for 10,000 records and like 80 columns. So super, super fast. I want to show the dark theme. So we have this beautiful dark theme. Here's the toolbar. So now I've got the same toolbar we saw earlier in that other sample. So let me click export to Excel. And if I'm ducking my head, my camera is kind of like in the way. So I don't have the best setup here. I'm not a professional Twitch person like Brian. Brian's like totally pro, you'll see with his setup. But look at that. This just exported to Excel 10,000 rows of data from your grid with no work on your part. Let's check out the weather forecast. Oh, that's cool. We have a card, and the card allows you to do any custom template. Let me look at my forecast details. It kind of slides down. It's so cool. And then here's the category chart. So now just like that, I can change out my different chart types. So what did we just see? We saw that just using the CLI, I could get up and running in no time. And now you might say, well, wait a minute, that's cool. Totally get it. But what I use is the Angular CLI, and that's fine. Let me go ahead and click yes here. If you're using the Angular CLI and you do an ng new, and what name would you like? I'm just going to call it test work, and I'm going to add routing, and I'm going to say CSS is fine. And now I've installed my packages, right? So this is going to create an Angular app using the Angular CLI, which many of you, that's your first entry point. You're doing like Tour of Heroes, or you're watching any video on YouTube, you're going to start with the Angular CLI. Well, that's fine too. We don't limit you by using the Infragistics CLI. So now I've created this, and let's just remember this was called test-work. And in here, you can see we've got our Angular application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say ng add, and I'm going to say IgniteUI-Angular, Angular. And now it's adding IgniteUI for Angular to my Angular product, or a project that I use the Angular. I'm going to enable polyfills, and yep, that's fine. That I use to create just the standard CLI. While that's going, it'll take 1 second, and let's just kind of monitor it in real time. Oh, it actually was pretty quick. What I want to show you as well is everything that we do is available on GitHub. So let me go to github.com, Ignite UI. So if you want to, go to GitHub, go to Ignite UI for Angular, check out all the source, all the samples. You want to check out our roadmap. It's all public. You want to look at all the issues. It's all public. This is where you'd post your own issues, sort, filter, whatever. You want to check out our specs? Great. Here's our grid specification. Nothing is hidden here. We want you to know what we're doing, what we're building. Just like here, I did my added Ignite UI for Angular. So let's just type in IG in this workspace. And what does it say? Well, it's not going to make me build a new app, but I can go ahead and add a component. Or actually, let's just add a scenario. We'll add the awesome grid, and we'll call this Awesome Brian, and complete and run. And it's the same thing as before. It's just going to go ahead and run this application, and you'll be able to see what it looks like, which is actually pretty cool. But everything's public here, and as you can see, I'm creating apps with just command line. So here, I'm going to go back to my dev 2. Here's my test work. I'm going to open this guy up with Visual Studio Code, and you can see here in source, app, here's Awesome Brian. Here's the Awesome Brian component. And this is great because you're learning how to use templates, you know, ng template. That's a great thing about being a material-based product. We're built on Angular, so ng template is in the normal flow. So anything can get templated with ng template, and we respect that across the board. So anyway, that is getting started using the CLI. This will build eventually. You've probably all seen Tour of Heroes and like the default Angular template, or the default Angular screen that gets built. So what I want to do though is, because I did promise to show you a couple other things before I pass it off to Brian, I want to go to Learn and Support here, and I'm going to go to Reference Applications. This is where you can be a hero immediately today. Look at all these apps that we have that you can just download and grab the source code for. So check this one out, the COVID-19 dashboard. I mean, a little gloomy, but the great thing about this is it shows you how to use our grid control, how to use our map control, how to use our chart control, how to do selection, how to do custom tooltips, how to do basically a bunch of different things on the screen at once, how to change the theme. So this application is really robust, really rich, and all of the source code, you just say download sample and you get all the source. Like, we don't hide anything. The Task Planner app, this is cool. We just shipped this Task Planner app, and check this out. Again, I've got different themes, but this is more than the theme. You'll see this is like squared, you know, like the grid looks squared, but here, if I can drill in, I can see like some hierarchy. When I click this guy, everything's more rounded, a little different, a little funner. let's use our Excel style filter. I can do a text filter here if I'd like. I can select and deselect these guys and apply and limit the grid. I can do sorting. I can do things like grouping. I can do drag and drop. So here, if I drag, you'll see a drag shadow and drop it onto the grid. So anyway, again, download, sample, get all the source, learn how to build the app. Another one that I'm going to show here is the budget app. So this guy is, I'm going to show you what this looks like in Sketch, and then Brian's going to generate some code. I think the login screen or one of these screens with it. But again, a master detail app. We want to give you as much success as possible with our product. So we are giving you all of these samples to learn. Here's a cool one, the crypto portfolio app. This guy here, showing all the different cards. If I view chart, I go to a chart screen with the zoom bar, and I mean, just so many cool things you can do here. But anyway, go check out all of these samples because they really are designed to give you a real kickstart. Now, the last thing I want to show you is more of this productivity. And I talked about Indigo Design and how we use the design system. I'm going to go ahead and log into Indigo Design, and I'm going to show an application here called the People app. And I'm going to edit this prototype. And you can see that this guy has a bunch of different screens. Now, these screens, I've got these yellow boxes because what that is it's showing the different interactions that happen on these screens, like if you were to run the prototype. So I'm going to preview this prototype, and you can see that, yeah, things are happening when I click in certain areas, and it's just kind of, it's a prototype. This was built in Sketch with our design system, which maps out to our Angular controls. The inspect tool I showed you earlier here, I can actually get all of this information on specific aspects of a design that I need in my application. So let me just grab the CSS, bang it right into my app, and I'm off to the races. So a lot of useful stuff here. But what happens is in Visual Studio Code, we have a plugin which will present you with these screens and then allow you to generate code, Angular apps and Angular code based on the screens you select. And Brian is now going to take over and wrap us up now for the last 15 or 20 minutes and show you how to generate code with our Visual Studio Code plugin, how to use our toolbox, and just kind of some other Angular stuff that he's been working on. So I will let Brian take control of the screen here. I will stop sharing.
All right, I think I'm good. I think I'm in. I think I see myself.
Yeah, cool. So could you see me the whole time?
Oh, I saw you the whole time.
Oh, sweet. All right, cool. I like this.
All right, well, you only gave me like 20 minutes, so I'm gonna zoom through this stuff, right?
There's so much to show.
All right, yeah. So, okay, I'm taking over now. I'm taking over the show. It's the Brian Show. Welcome to the Brian Show. All right, so, you know, what Jason showed you is pretty awesome. But I'm going to expand on that and really blow some minds. Because he just kind of gave you just like the intro, right? He's just teasing you a little bit. Now, we're inside Visual Studio Code. This is where all the work happens for developers like you and myself, right? This is where we live. Now, the biggest problem with where we live, it's different from where designers live. So I'm kind of new to this whole Angular web world. And one of my biggest problems I get is when a designer approaches me with a design and says, hey, take this JPEG and make that in web. I look at them like they're crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Make this in web. Like, give me something to work with. All I have is a JPEG, right? Well, they may give me some colors and things like that, but I just have a picture of what they want. Well, with a combination of the Indigo Design product that Jason just showed, what if I told you that a designer can take their design that they built in Sketch, and instead of exporting that design to a JPEG to send to their developers, we can generate that design directly off their Sketch design, right from within Visual Studio Code, right? So I'm going to highlight two extensions for Visual Studio Code I'm going to be talking about. The first one is the Indigo Design Code Generator, and then we'll talk about a toolbox, which is pretty awesome, right? Okay, so let's say that the designer designed this awesome, cool website. It looks beautiful, and they want me to create that like to the T, like pixel for pixel. They want it just like that, no exceptions. Well, I can simply launch my code generator. And what's going to happen is it's going to, oh, that's on my other screen. It's going to launch a window. And what happens here is that the designer will get a link to their design. And I will paste that link to the design inside of this text box here. Well, I already have this budget app that was already sent to me earlier today. So I'm going to click on this. So now what happens is this extension will then read every layout, every design that's in that sketch design that was sent to us and show us what the developer wants or what the designer wants us to develop, right? So for example, we can look at this login screen. And if we look on the right-hand side, we can see some checkboxes. So I can hover over each of these elements and see that these are individual elements that I can generate in my applications, right? And so I can generate the whole page if I want. I can generate just the navigation bar. I can generate just the login screen. We can kind of expand this down and just generate the content. Well, what do we want? Well, in this case, I want just the login screen because I'm going to assume my Angular project has already been created and I have my navigation, everything figured out. Right. So once I select that, I get options like, okay, what do I want to call this component? Well, I'm going to call it login screen. We can provide a model object name. So for example, if your designer already considered data binding, if they worked with the developer and said, oh yeah, this username text box and this password is going to data bind to this property. Well, I can say, oh, okay, what's the name of that model that's going to be feeding those bindings, right? I can provide that there. And then what module do we want this in, right? In our application, you have tons of modules. What module do we want to generate all this code? And we have other settings like, okay, what's our app prefix? Where are our images? What kind of quotes do we want to use, single or double? What theme, all that kind of stuff, right? Well, I'm just going to take the defaults right here, and I'm going to hit generate this code. So what I just did is I am telling Visual Studio Code to take the design from Sketch that the designer designed and just generate all that for me automatically. And so we're going to see some notifications here. Okay, do we want to install some packages? Yes, of course, because we're using Ignite UI. There were some errors reported. This will show you anything that couldn't be generated. It's like certain shadows or things in the design that we just don't know about, and we'll list those out so you know what you might have to go and do manually. So if you look at the bottom, it says updating our project. At this point, you're going to start seeing things kind of pop up the left-hand side, right? Some imports, our login screen. Do we want to override the app module? Of course we want to override that. How about the JSON? Yep, override that too. Boom, we're done, right? So that login screen has now been generated into a login screen module. I can look at the HTML that requires. We can look at the CSS and the TS file. Like it's all there. So now in my app component, I can simply say app-login-screen. We'll go ahead and save that. And of course, I'm going to do the ng serve -o so I can open this right away. And this is going to take a minute, right? This takes a minute. Oh, I messed up. I did something wrong. Oh, nope, I didn't do anything wrong. Okay, so I pre-generated this using the Angular CLI, right? And so I just forgot to set up my hammer.min.js, which we can do. Let's just, oh, actually, this is a great time to point out another tool. Okay, so while we work on this, I actually want to show you something else because I only have like 10 minutes left. Okay, so while we're working on this login screen, right? So we generated the login screen and we placed it. Oh, let me do npm install, maybe. Not there. Let me just do this while I talk because we know how this can take a while, right? This takes a while. Okay. So another thing I want to talk about is another extension that we have available to you, and that's when you're developing an application. Let's say you're generating your application with the CLI or whatever you're doing. You're generating your apps. Well, we have also a toolbox. That was another extension we provided here. I think this is it right here. Let me close that. That is essentially more of a visual way to create components within your application, especially if you're using things like Ignite UI. Now, Ignite UI is a pretty in-depth product with lots of packages, lots of controls, lots of components, and sometimes it can be hard to know kind of what you're using and how to use it and when to use it. So what we did was we wrote this extension. Let me remove that really quick. We wrote this extension that allows you to right-click and open the toolbox. And what's going to happen is it's going to show another window that provides a list of controls. Now, what's really cool about this is, let's say I want to add a data grid. Right? So I'll add a data grid. It's going to install all of the packages, all the dependencies. It's going to update my module.ts file, bring in my imports, define my modules automatically for me, anything required to make this data grid function. Okay, this means it really takes the responsibility away from you having to know all those little details, and it just does it for you. Okay, so in this case, we're defining the IGX grid. It puts in a little code snippet on how this would look if you were to do it. It says, oh, you need to provide some local data here. We don't have any local data in this specific example, but if you had data, you would bind it here. Okay, so that means we could do things like, oh yeah, I want to add my login screen. I could add some other components here. Let's see if my npm install will work. Oh, I shouldn't need an install. I should just need ng serve-o. I think we should be working on this. Nope. Okay. Well, I'm having an issue on my side because this is web and this is what we deal with. However, let's say, for example, you know what? Do I have time? Of course I have time. I have time for everything. So I'm going to open up another command line, and I'm going to do ng new, I don't know, test app, right? We'll create a new one really quick because I want to show some of these components off, which are pretty amazing. And I need another app that actually builds to play in. This is what happens when you're playing around with a demo before you show it. It's just the life of a demoer, I guess. So this takes obviously a little bit of time. It is npm, and it installs the entire world onto your machine just to run a simple one-page website. Go figure. Okay, so we have that. I should be able to now just open that in code. Let's go ahead and open up our app component. I'm going to delete that. Just do ng serve on this one. Oh! What the heck? I typed something wrong, didn't I? That was weird. ng serve -o. Okay, so let me get this blank app running. That way we can make modifications to it as it builds and runs, and we only have to compile one time because that takes the longest, right? Okay, now I'm going to monitor for questions on the side as I'm talking here, and I don't see any, so I must be doing a great job of explaining things if there's 0 questions. Okay. Now this is going to take just a minute. Okay, now we have this running. I should have nothing because we have deleted our everything within the app component, right? So now I'm going to use my toolbox, and let's say that I wanted to add, I don't know, that spreadsheet that Jason showed was pretty cool. So now this is going to bring down all the packages required for the spreadsheet component to function from npm. It's going to update my app.module.ts with any imports. It's going to update the module with any module declarations that need to happen. Essentially, everything that needs to happen to make this component function will happen automatically for us. And I didn't have to write any code anywhere. So, okay. Yeah, Jason, the demo gods are not on my side. No, they're not, because I just did this like right before I came on, and like, oh, it worked fine. This is great. Okay. Let's let this compile really quick. I'm checking my time over here. I'm still good on time because there's something else really cool I want to show you. Oh, hurry up and compile. This is driving me nuts. Oh, Dan. Hey, Dan. Good to see you. I see Dan in the chat. Can you do this design thing for the .NET world? Dan, not yet. But on another app that I'm going to show you, another tool that we have, you will eventually. We'll be supporting all kinds of different platforms such as React and Vue and Blazor and all that cool stuff. So in about 3 minutes or so, I'm going to show you something else to help generate and design these apps that are just going to blow your freaking mind. I'm super excited about it. I've been using it. Eric, good to see you. Oh, Eric can only do 720p for some reason. Okay. So I haven't updated anything on my machine yet. I think I'm still using an older version of Angular, and our components are using a newer version of Angular. So actually, that may be causing my problems to begin with. Okay, compiled successfully. Let's open up our test app. I have to do a refresh. Did it finish? Refresh. Oh, it helps if you save, Brian. Helps if you save the document. Okay, so, and there's our spreadsheet, right? This is our spreadsheet. This is Microsoft Excel inside of an Angular app, and I did nothing. I just used the toolbox, right click, and boom, it's there. I don't know, I can do 21, 23, we could do it equals sum. What is that, F1? At what, F1 and F2, for example? Right there, I have a sum, I could do functions, I can create new sheets, I can rename these sheets, rename. I mean, this is Excel. I can reorder, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. Embed. We can embed charts and graphs and all kinds of crazy stuff, tables and sorting and filtering. And I didn't have to do anything for that. So now I can go ahead. Let's say, you know what? I don't want a spreadsheet. Let's say I want something like, I don't know, a gauge. A gauge. Yeah, we have gauges. Of course we have gauges. So once again, I click a different control. In this case, I picked a different control that isn't already installed, right? And so it went ahead, installed the packages. Let me remember to actually save the file this time. And then we'll come over here. We'll see, hit a refresh. If it's done, I don't know if it's done compiling. But essentially what's going to happen is we're going to have, oh, there's our gauge. There it is. It's done compiling. Okay. So it's that simple. This is going to allow you to essentially I don't want to say highly. I want to say quickly and productive. You're going to be highly productive, right? That's what I was looking for. Highly productive creating these applications, even if you're not using code generation. Now, so since we have an app that's actually working, let me do this code generator just one more time, because I think I just had something wrong on my code gen demo that I was playing with right before I decided to do a demo. We'll go back. We'll do the login screen, generate. It's going to ask to update all this stuff. I don't know if I should stop the app or not, actually. Yeah, we'll update that. I already know there's issues there because we don't care about certain design aspects of that design that we couldn't generate. Our project's being updated. So we're installing our required packages. We can see at the bottom here. How am I doing on time? Oh, perfect. Okay. And we should see changes in the app login screen. There's my imports. Yes, update that. Yes, update that. Finish updating. Now I should be able to say, what is it? What do we call that? App dash login screen, I believe. Let me save that. And where is it? Where's my... Is that it? Is that it? I lost my... I guess I'll just open a new tab. Localhost 4200, I think it was. And we'll let that serve up real quick. Hey, there's our login screen. Yay! So that is what I was trying to show the first time. In this case, I do need to make a change to the styling. So HTML, body, because I want it to take up the whole space. No, not width. We don't care about width. We want height, right? Height, yeah, 100%. And then we'll set our margin to 0, because that's what we're supposed to do. And then where is my... Boom. And there it goes. So that's what I was trying to show you the first time, and that other app I had that I guess I broke something when I was playing around. But as you can see, highly productive, right? Okay. Oh man, I only got 5 minutes. Okay, so let me cancel this because I want to highlight something. When you do the code generation, right? We are using sketch files. Okay. Now, Sketch is a Mac-only product. So if you don't have a Mac, I mean, you're kind of out of luck. And if you don't use Sketch, it's like, well, what do I do to design my applications, right? Well, we're working on a new tool. Okay, and I'm really excited about this, and I actually use this one myself. This tool is called the App Builder. And this is a web-based product that will allow you to actually design your websites by actually just dragging and dropping components in your layouts. And then you'll be able to preview what this would look like and get the code. Oh, guess that didn't work there. But you'll be able to get the code right there. This is still being developed. So what I'm showing you right now is still under development. Okay, it's in a private preview, but I'm letting everyone see it right now. Okay, so you can get all the HTML for this. You can get all the CSS and the TypeScript required for the screen to function. And then, of course, you can generate the entire app. So I have time to do a really quick one. So I'm going to create a new app. I'll call it Demo App. I misspelled it, no big deal. We can add components. Now, under components, we're going to be adding a ton of components that you could use. For now, I'm going to say I need a content section. Let's add like 3 of these. And actually, I want this to be a column. We're using FlexGrid for everything, right? So I'm going to use this as a column and, I don't know, horizontal. Let's stretch that across. I want to add a content section here and here. This will grow. I'm thinking I want some type of avatar in this area. And for the icon, let's pick an icon real quick. This one looks okay. And let's add a margin of like 15. Sure, why not? Yeah, okay. Let's see. What else do I want to do? Let's put some text in here. Do I have text? Yep, text. We'll throw text in this one. I will say, Angular is easy. Of course it's easy. We'll make this H2. I'm just doing something really simple here. Actually, I want to go up and go. Let's center this stuff. I like my stuff centered. That's, to be honest, that's the main reason I use this, is because I had such a pain trying to center things in my CSS. I'm not a CSS guru by any means. I could barely write CSS to write my name or something. It's that bad. So I rely on this to help me out, to like lay my apps out. So here's a card, right? So I could throw some cards in here. Card. And because I want the space a certain way, let's space these evenly, for example. And I need an image. Where can I steal an image? I just want to, Moana. Let's take Moana. I'm going to copy this image path and use it in this project here because I can set properties on these UI elements, right? And then this last one, I don't know. Let's just do something silly like we could say it's a footer, right? Yeah, this is the footer. Your footer goes down here. And maybe you want to make this centered. I don't know. It's a footer. You know what? Let's make it centered. Sure. Show off the power of the center. Right, there's your center. All right, so now that I have this, I have to approach this. I could come in here and I could preview this. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. I can go to my code view and I could decide to just copy this and paste it into my app, right? And copy the CSS. I can do that. Or I can generate the app. So when I click this generate app button, it's actually going to generate an Angular application for me. And it's going to save it as a zip file. And this really shouldn't take too long. There it is. I'll save it to my disk and let this scan for viruses, because that's what Windows does. And then I'm going to open this in my folder. And I'm going to make sure I unblock this, because that's another thing Windows does, the mark of the web, right? So we'll unblock that. I'm going to extract it. Extract. And so back to your question, Dan, about, can you use this in the .NET world? This is the product that we're moving forward with right here. Okay, so we're moving back to that question because this is the product right now. All it does is Angular, but this is the product where we're going to support more platforms for generation. So for this, I think I actually need to do an npm install because, of course, we're not going to ship all those node modules. That would be ridiculous. It's like 2 gigs of data just in a zip file. We're not going to do that to you, right? And so I'm going to do a quick npm install. And then we'll run the application and just see what it looks like. I mean, I didn't make any changes, right? But we can look at our source. We can look at our app. We can see that there's my main screen, right? That we designed really quickly. Here's my CSS that we designed just really quickly. It's all generated. I didn't touch anything. I just drag and dropped. So let this NPM do its thing for, 7 years. That's what it seems to do. Okay, now we could go ng. Whoa. Nope. Here, ng serve-o. And we'll let this build and launch and serve up our website, and we should be up and running in no time. And now this one shouldn't take as long as the others to compile, but you never know. It's Angular. What are you going to do? Right? Get some coffee. Wait a minute. That's all you can do. All right. So I'm going to look for questions really quick, and I'm not seeing any more questions, just some awesome comments about how amazing this is. Did I hear Windows is a virus? What? Dan, you're ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe. All I know is, didn't you have problems streaming on a Mac? Right? Oh, yeah, you can't stream on a Mac. That's right, because it's just painful. All right. So here's our application. Here's our application running. Just let this thing load real quick. And hey, there's our application that we decided to design very quickly. We even added this little navigation at the top, because as I add new screens, it will come in here. Obviously, this is customizable. You can change this, but that's our application. That's amazing. Like, I didn't have to write any code for that. Now all I have to do is focus on functionality, business logic, because that's, let's be honest, that's all I really care about. One more thing I want to point out is, let's decide that, hey, you know what? I want this to be a dark theme. Well, there we go. Dark theme. And let's go to let's do a preview. And I'm just going to update my CSS because I don't want to export all this again. Let's just copy that, open up my code, which I think is, I got too many Visual Studios open. Okay, that's not it. Let's close that one. Is it this one? Could it be this one? Let's look. Yep, it's this one. Okay, cool. So let's open up our main screen, SCSS. Let's replace that. Let's save it. I think I'm in the right one. Open up. Let this refresh, however long that takes. Let's save it. Yeah, I saved it. What time is it? Oh, I'm over. Oh, crap. Okay, I'm actually over. I'm so sorry. To be continued. All right, so at any time, if you need any information about this, I can actually do a private demo for you where I'm not so rushed and, I take all my time that I want. Please reach out to me on Twitter, Brian Lagunas. Yeah, I'm done. I know. I'm sorry. I'm over time. I apologize. Don't be mad at me, everyone. So feel free to take over. Tara, I think you can take it from here.